Hey guys, welcome to Magic Ian's Aviary. So I'm in the aviary just now with the birds. Some of them are all over me. So I wanted to make this video because many of you have asked me the question, how do you tame a bird, or how do you tame a bird fast? And I just want to address that in this video. So this is Lucky here. Actually likes to mimic, so while I'm speaking he might actually even try and mimic and bob a little bit. So these three are very tame, as you can see, and I have some untamed ones. Okay, so the fastest way to actually tame a bird, whatever bird it is, whether it be a budgie, cockatiel, conure, smaller birds, canaries, and so on, the best way, right? Obviously, the larger birds are going to be, if you want something that's a bit cuddly and you can do more with, the larger birds are going to be better. And then the smaller birds, such as canaries and javs and finches, etc., right? They can also be tamed, but they may not be kind of to that level. So anyway, the easiest way to actually tame a bird is actually to get the right bird in the first place. Now, what I mean by that is there's two types of youthful birds or young birds, right? Two ways to bring up a bird, right? One is parent raised, also known as aviary birds. So basically they're raised by the parents. Or the other type, which is hand-reared. Now, a hand-reared bird is typically a bird which is either brought up completely by a human being, or they're brought up by the parents until, say, about week 2, week 3, or month 1, and then the human being starts to get in contact with it and start to feed it a little bit, start to really touch and bond with it. Okay, so hand-reared birds, if you really want a really tame bird fast, you want to get a hand-reared bird, right? Ones that's used to contact with humans from a very young age. I'm not saying that you cannot tame a bird that is aviary bred. However, they're just so much more difficult to tame. They can be if they're younger, like 12 weeks or under. I wouldn't go for anything over 4 months old. Right, over 6 months old, if they're aviary bred and not used to contact with humans, they're very difficult to tame. And they're not impossible, you can do it, but it takes a long time and it will never be as tame as a hand-reared one. Whereas if you get a hand-reared one that's used to human beings from a very young age, especially when you get them young, they're going to just tame up with you. I mean, look at this. I mean, look at this girl here. I could do whatever I want with her. I could grab her, I could do whatever, and she'd be okay with it. Because this one was hand-reared. I bought her when she was only 9 weeks old. She's now 3 months old, and she's beautiful. I can grab her, do whatever. Right, so these are typically all hand-reared, right? So that girl there, she's so good because I got her when she was 9 weeks old and she was hand reared. That's why she's so good. I'm like pretty much her only owner, apart from the original owner that sort of fed her a little bit. This one here, I've only had him for about 5-6 months. Lucky, his name is. He is about 18 months old, so I didn't. He was hand reared, but he's had another owner before that. But even so, they tame with you really well, bond with you really well. Same with this one here, Coco. He's about 2. Well, no, he's just over 3 years old just now. And again, I didn't have him until he was about 1, so I had him for 2 years. And he's actually a pair with Chanel over there, that female. Again, you can see, even though somebody else had him for the first year, he's actually really tame. You can see how good he is. So typically, hand-reared birds, no matter how old they are, they'll tame up with you. Although the younger, the better. If you can get a hand-reared bird that's literally less than 3 months old, that's brilliant. They're going to just be really good with you. Whereas if you get a parent bird or an aviary bird, then, you know, especially if they're over 6 months old, they're never really going to tame with you. Now, hand-reared birds are going to be a little bit more expensive, okay? Whatever bird it is, it's going to be just a little bit more expensive, like budgies, cockatiels, conure. It's just because of the nature of the market. But it's not impossible to tame an aviary bird. It's just that you should get them young, ideally less than 12 weeks old. If they're over 12 weeks old, it's just much more difficult to tame, and it takes a lot longer to tame. Now, in terms of taming them, in terms of training them, what you want is to feed them millet, right? So I'm just now in the interior section of the aviary. So this is millet, okay? You want this to train them because they love this stuff. Okay, now if you feed them millet and you get them associated with you being the millet person, they will love you because they associate that treat as being you, and they will literally love you for it. This is a really good way to train them, whether you want to flight train them, if you want to hand train them, become tame with them. This is what you want to feed them, right? This is a really good way to tame your bird and get them have positive reinforcement about you. Okay, so these are typically hand-reared birds, and you can tell they just, you know, it's so obvious to tell them, man. Look at them, right? But here, this is what I'm going to show you now, right? I'm going to show you, I'm just going to turn the camera around right there, right? We have what you call aviary birds. Okay, so these two, they're a pair. I've had them for about 6 months or so, 5-6 months. They are about 2 years old each. And so I've had them for 6 months. I didn't have them until about 18 months, and they're not used to human beings. They were not hand reared, aviary bred, right? Just look at the difference, okay? So basically, because I got them not from young, right? If you get them from young, like say 3 months or under, they're okay. But because I got them when they were already older and they're not used to humans, just watch the difference, right? As soon as human gets close, look at the response. Look, this is my hand. It's not even that close. It's about a foot away. Right, that's typically their response, okay? See that? Right, so it's very, very different. And that is how they will be for life. So here's the thing. If you really want a pet bird, just one or two, and you really want to bond with them for life and you want to spend a lot of time with them, get a hand-reared one that's ideally young. That is the best you can do. Even if you spend a little bit more at the beginning, it's worth it. Because those ones that I've just shown you, right, because I got them when they were older, and they're not used to humans, it's almost impossible to train them to become like these birds. Almost impossible. So that is typically what I would recommend, and that's how you really tame a bird fast, because as soon as you buy it, they're pretty much tame. But if that's not the case, if you've already bought your bird and they're not very tame, then the way to do it is to really just spend a lot of time with them, right? Just spend a lot of time with them, literally every day. Be around them, do things with them, do this, do that, and feed them millet, get them associate you and reinforce their brain to think that you are the one that's going to give them that treat, and you're the one that feeds them the food, and you really look after them. But unfortunately, if you get an older bird that's aviary bred, sometimes it's just almost impossible to fully tame them. Okay, so that's the trick. Get hand reared ones that are young, or get aviary ones if you don't have if you're on a budget, but that are young. You must make sure they're young, right? Aviary ones that's 8 or 9 or 10 weeks old, you can absolutely train them to become really good too. But unfortunately, if they're older and the aviary, it is very difficult. So that's the video. Hope you guys enjoy and finding value. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you.